Like many of you, I grew up in the 90s, and the world was just a different place in the 90s than what it is now. Basketball was played a lot different, more of an inside game. Football, you had more running backs and more rushing yards than today. And also technology has also grown to leaps and bounds now in comparisons to when we were in the 90s. But there's something else that I would like to talk about, and that is how women dressed in the 90s compared to how they dress now. I mean, if you don't believe me, let's look at some people that you know that I love, like Mary J. Blige in 1992. I believe the album was What's the 411? Look at Mary J. Blige in these overalls. This is an R&B singer, right? Let's fast forward to today, where you have somebody like Glorilla, or even Cardi B or Meg Thee Stallion. It's a lot different, isn't it? Oh yes. And because of that difference, we see a lot of ladies now dressing more provocatively in public. Not always provocatively. In some cases, they're dressing inappropriate. This is why Monique had to make this particular PSA announcement about Black women wearing bonnets.
Hey, my sweet babies. So, it took me a minute to say what I'm getting ready to say because I want to make sure I'm not saying it in judgment, and I want to make sure I'm saying it from a place of love. Y'all, some of y'all have given me the title of auntie, and I'm honored that y'all do that, right? But there are times where auntie got to talk to her babies and say some real shit. So yesterday, I was in the airport in Atlanta because I'm in Jackson, Mississippi now at Chuckles Comedy Club, right? And we got 3 shows tonight. We got a matinee at 5:30, then we got 7, then we got 10, right? And I'm excited. I always love going to the stage. So when we got to the airport yesterday, I was excited, like, all right, baby, let's go get them in Jackson, Mississippi. And as we began to walk through the airport, I saw so many, actually too many to count and too many for me to tap. But I saw so many of our young sisters in head bonnets, scarves, slippers, pajamas, blankets wrapped around them, and this is how they're showing up to the airport. And I've been seeing it, not just at the airport, I've been seeing it at the store, at the mall. I've been seeing sisters showing up with these bonnets and headscarves and their slippers. And the question that I'm having to you, my sweet babies, when did we lose pride in representing ourselves?
But as the saying goes, guys, it gets worse. Pink Book Lessons put out a video not too long ago about a particular young lady who's been showing up from DC, literally flying into Houston, walking into public places such as the mall or even restaurants, but naked. I know you don't believe me, but let's check it out.
Last year, I reported on the bear that broke into a Houston restaurant. Yeah, it was a bear just roaming around and got in. I'm talking about this female here walking her grown behind in the turkey leg hut in Houston with nothing but socks and shoes on. I spoke on how disgusting this was, especially at a restaurant, and how disrespectful it was. Considering the restaurant, the Turkey Leg Hut, had a dress code, and they had already been talked about on social media for not allowing people in who violated that dress code.
Okay, so we come to Turkey Leg Hut. If y'all got a dress code, no, I'm leg. Damn, look, I don't go on social media about it, but bitch, you got a dress code, then don't serve no fucking food. Simple. So the dress code was no bonnet. They okay, the clothes I had on was cool, but they was crying about a bonnet. Girl, what the?
From wearing bonnets, night clothes, or whatever. This woman knew this already, and she said F their dress code. She didn't care. She walked up in there with nothing on. Socks and shoes, that's it. You had families eating at the Turkey Leg Hut with elders and their children. It was very unsanitary, but this dirty 304 did not care at all. Totally disrespectful to the owners of the restaurant, to the patrons of the restaurant and their families. But of course, No matter how stupid or how out of order they are, this group of women will always have people defending foolishness. It never fails. No matter what they do, no one is supposed to say anything, even other Black women. If you missed the coverage on that situation, the links will be below. This happened about 8 or 9 months ago. Now that same woman is back again, going viral on social media. She went back to Houston because, let's also get this straight, this woman is not from Houston. She's from the DMV, the DC, Maryland area, but I never saw her post videos there of her attempting to walk into any federal building in DC looking like this. No, she's getting on a plane, going to other cities. And in these 2 cases here I'm speaking on, from the turkey leg hut and this recent situation, she decided to hop on a plane and go to Houston both times. Why Houston? I don't know. So I definitely want to get that straight. This is not a Houston woman. She's not even a transplant. I know there's a lot of Houston transplants now from California, Louisiana, Florida, everywhere else. But no, she's not even a transplant. She's basically just a visitor who flew out to Houston just to do this mess.
And that video is called DMV Woman Flew to Texas to Walk in the Mall Looking Like This. But then what is this video about? Because now we have young women showing up to their son's graduation looking a mess. And I know that some people are going to say, oh, you know, you're hating on women's rights, or you're hating on the ability of a woman to be a woman. No, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about there's a time and a place for everything. Now, we have this particular Florida lady when, you know, she's going to a kindergarten graduation. And, well, she decided to show up, which is great. It's always nice to show up to your son's graduation. Give her a round of applause. But look at how she's dressed. That's the son there. Obviously, we can't show his face, but look at how she's dressed. She has booty shorts. It looks like the pants are unbuckled, a half top, and again, Jordans. Tattoos are visible. Now, a person by the name of Antoine Carter says, at least she there. Boy, y'all praise folks for doing the bare minimum. Somebody else says she could have went to the Rainbow and got a little sundress and some sandals. It's a time and place for everything. Brittany Walker says, well, I'm going to say I'm glad she was there to support her baby. Maybe one day she'll look back and wish she was more appropriately or dressed more appropriately. And see, the reality is that while we're not going so hard on her, you have to think about all of the other parents who showed up not dressed like this, especially the parents who were Black. You see, there are a lot of single moms that are Black, but they would never come to their son or daughter's graduation looking like this. There are a lot of other people that are probably there in the Hispanic community. And then when you do this, what do you expect other people to think? They may not say it. Inherently, they may not make any suggestive actions towards you. But we know that once they get home, here's what they're going to say about you. And the fact that you came there looking like that, it also leads me into another direction. What kind of young man are you raising? Yeah, because you see, when your mom doesn't have discipline, who do you expect, or should you expect that son should have discipline? You see, a lot of times, a lot of young Black men grow up in homes, I can say just like these, where the young man doesn't respect anybody but his mom. He's emotional just like her. Nobody can tell him nothing. And one of the reasons why is because the mother lives in a state of anarchy. Nobody can tell her nothing. And then what happens is that son gets grown. He's released into the general population of the world. And then, God forbid, he becomes somebody's boyfriend, baby daddy, or husband, who will also teach his kids to have low standards and bad behavior issues, such as the problems that we see in Black America. And then you wonder why so many people would like to leave. Now, we're not talking about the fact that every person in the Black community does this. But the issue is that when somebody does it, especially in the female community, you know, people who come out against something like this will get bashed. Let's rewind, Dima. Remember Monique, and we just played the bonnet clip? Yeah, she said that in a nice way. She even called ladies sweeties and honeys, and she was using those terms talking from a place of love. But do you know that you cannot talk to a lot of black people on the internet from a place of love? Because you can't tell them anything. They're going to get offended. Even if they're dead in the wrong, they're going to get offended. So then what's the best way to communicate with them? The best way to communicate with them is to not communicate with them at all. And that is what you see right now with a lot of successful blacks and well-to-do blacks, or blacks who are going to be very well-to-do. They see something like that. They see people who has kids like that in these schools. They say, we got to get the hell up out of here. We got to move into another community. It's called black flight. Getting away from other Negroes who you can't tell anything. See, at first it was white flight, getting away from blacks, but then there's black flight, which is getting away from blacks who you can't tell anything for fear of repercussions. That's right, for even telling them in the right way. So when you look at this young kid, and if he grows up with that mother, don't expect this kid to be going to Harvard or Yale or to have that discipline that's going to be building families, being a builder of his community. It will be shocking if it does happen. But with a mother who looks like that, what do you really expect? So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. Appreciate you for all the do. Serve the bell. We're out.